ask yourself as an American when you're spending your extra time, out in your garden or in your yard cleaning or doing it, ask yourself, are those things American? It's the same. If you want to get into sports, it's what's happening right now in sports. The tide is turning. You're starting to see the feeble, self-appointed NCAA get its comeuppance. It's coming, man.
But but we can talk about the G League and whatnot. But it's not coming at the same time. Let's be real here.
Okay.
Let's be real here. How many players the G League will steal from the NCAA? Now, who does this hurt? This hurts, technically the mid-tier schools, because the Dukes, the UNCs, the Kentuckys.
It's a trickle down.
They're still going to get the best top college players.
That's right.
And the NCAA is still going to.
I don't care who it hurts.
March Madness. It's not really. It's not going to hurt anybody.
It will. And I don't know when Condoleezza Rice dictated that the one and done would be over, but that's coming. If not next year, following year.
But that's still not going to be a major problem. How many players every year are there realistically that could be one and dones?
Well, I think
maybe five.
I think the number is changing because of the gap is closing in the competitive field. I mean, like you've started to see. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Mavs. We haven't been watching hoops for so long. The Mavs kid, Luka. He's a kid who's played against adult competition since he was 14 years old. So I think the gap is closing. And I think the same thing can be said in the NFL. I think you're starting to see a lot of these, first round quarterbacks starting to get pressed into action and showing they can do it. I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't see Joey Lawrence playing for an NFL team this year. That makes no sense to me.
Right. So there's a couple guys, like I said, but if you take 5-6 guys.
But regardless, as long as they get the opportunity to compete,
which I'm all for.
That's it.
I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying I don't think this is going to be the major change to the NCAA.
Look at how hard they're grappling. There's how hard they're fighting already. So I think they sense their time in the sun is coming to an end. I feel like they know they're up against it. I feel like they know.
I feel like sports allegiances are stronger than the G League. And I can't name for you a G League team. Can you name for me a G League team?
It's the Santa Cruz Warriors.
Okay.
I don't know what they're called. I don't know what they're called. But they're Santa Cruz.
Can't name for me a G League team.
That's them. I just did.
Are you sure it's the Warriors?
Yeah. The Santa Cruz.
The Warriors. The Warriors. They're not like the Santa Cruz Sparks.
No. I'm not. I'm not. It's the Warriors team in Santa Cruz.
Okay,
that's all I know.
You're not sure what their mascot is. All right, that's what I'm saying.
And you're right. It probably has changed more than once.
And nobody knows, like I said, and don't get me wrong, you can build an allegiance to the G League, but that's going to take a hot minute.
I don't think so. I think it's already being built.
You've got Kentucky fans, Carolina fans, Duke
I agree with
fans,
you. I agree with
Kansas, Michigan, Ohio State. These people are born.
They're blue bloods. Yes.
Yeah. UCLA, Cal. It's going to be hard to kill that off.
Did you see the volley that the NCAA made? Their volley was, "We'll let you get paid on your likeness."
Well, they've been moving towards it anyway.
Well, that's like their olive branch.
I don't know why the NCAA can't move faster. That's.
Well, they're a bunch of old codgers that, like I said, it's been handed down to them. They're like the federal bank. This is all self-created. Nobody knows how to regulate them because they just created themselves and made the jobs for themselves and keep handing it off to cronies and back alley deals, and nobody knows and nobody can check it. It's the mob. It literally is akin to the mob. Nobody knows for sure what is what when it comes to NCAA, especially when you could just say no.
We don't know if Kentucky pays less than the G League.
We're in charge.
How much does Kentucky pay versus the G League? Maybe
exactly.
Maybe they're not paying $500,000, but they might be able to. They might be able to handle $100,000.
And there are other perks involved in that for sure. Yeah, sure. But as long as as long as it's out there and we all are in total awareness of what it is, then it can be equitable. Then it can be fair for these kids to make a decision.
Here's the thing as well.
That's really all this is about, in my opinion.
When does the G League play? Because I know there's summer league as
it
well.
It runs congruent.
Okay, it does. And then there's a summer league
because
as well?
it's the same kind of thing. You can pull a kid up from the G League.
But I'm saying, there's a summer NBA league, right, as well, right? Or something like that usually?
Oh, yeah. Summer league is more just like a showcase for the first round, second round picks.
Like the rookies
and some of the kids, some of the guys who are still trying to learn and want some extra playing time.
I'm just saying.
It's abbreviated. It's like 6, 10, 12 games, 8, 10, 12 games.
Unless only hardcore fans watch the summer league.
The summer league's fun. Dude, if we're going to go to Vegas – let's go to Vegas during summer league because those gyms are small. They're like high school gyms. You're right there on the floor. You're getting to see young up and coming coaches who aren't, they're their assistant coaches. You could see Becky Harmon. You could see a bunch of these soon to be head coaches do their thing and interact with some young talent. It's like going to spring training, man, because you can sit right on the action and you can see all of these young up and coming talents. And it's like fall ball. If you go see fall ball in Phoenix, that's when all of the newly drafted young super talent is going to play. It's great, dude. It's to get in confines that intimate and get that close to the up and coming stars who are just ready to let everything loose. Oh, dude, let's go to that.
Hey,
let's go.
I love
preseason.
Like I said, I'm just saying, how many people?
Preseason sucks.
I mean, I love preseason baseball. Is what I'm saying. I love preseason baseball or spring
baseball is great.
Baseball, summer basketball sounds intriguing, but it's one of these things. Like I said, you can't get people to tune in really.
Oh no, it gets watched. It runs on ESPN and people watch it.
I know. I'm saying there's a demographic. I'm just saying it isn't NBA huge even close. It is even NCAA huge. It isn't. No, it's not March Madness.
No, not March Madness huge, but I mean it's as big as
maybe a Tuesday in November.
I mean, look, I watch it.
All I'm saying is that even has name stars tied to name teams.
Yes,
and you still can't. So it could be possible, but I feel like the thing that the NCAA has, is they have the fandom. The SEC. Think about how rabid the SEC is. Even if the XFL caught on, do you think like LSU and Alabama would ever go out of style?
I don't know, but I would be willing to see. And I'm sorry, LSU fan. I'm sorry, Bama fan. I'm sorry to all college football. Look, as long as it's fair, let the legacy continue. Let it continue forever. I mean, I'm for that.
There are guys in Alabama who have never been to college who hate each other because one likes Auburn, the other likes Bama, and they've never been to college even.
Exactly. That's part of my beef with a lot of the Lake Charles natives are when it comes Saturday for Test Your Allegiance football hour, you see the McNeese grads.
They all went to McNeese, but they're watching LSU.
What's going on? What's going on, bro? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm confused. It's like when I grew up in Houston, and at the time, the 70s, the Oilers were not the Oilers, and the Cowboys were great, and all of the local Houston fans loved the Cowboys. And I was like, what are you doing? This is your team.
Right.
This is your team. Go. The stadium's open. Seats available. You went to school. You paid money. Help me out. I'm so confused by it. It has always confused me. But look, I don't know. Dude. I don't know.
Hey, look,
I don't know.
We're both for the G League. We're excited that it's happening.
It's great.
We're excited that these players, some of them are choosing to do that. I hope some of these guys who would have been one and dones don't go straight to the NBA, go to the G League first maybe instead.
And they are now.
Right. Well, this year they have to. But I'm saying like next year, next year they could maybe go straight into the draft. Or whatever.
I don't know what year that happens. I don't know.
Right, but it's coming up.
Well, yeah, it's in the next 2 years.
I'm
you're going to go back to.
Some of these guys still don't. You know what I'm saying? I hope that some of these guys still choose the G League.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. I mean, then that would then mean that you would start to see potential damage to the NCAA.
Right. Then I would love to see like Calipari going, oh, maybe I need to be coaching the Kentucky Roughnecks instead of the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah.
I need to be coaching Kentucky's G League team.
Yeah,
you know?
and that would be awesome.
That would then change the flow.
And then it would put college sports in its spot.
Like I was talking about, with the XFL. The XFL has been able to hold on and get Cooper Manning's son. I think Coop Manning or Arch Manning. I don't know what his name is, but he's like
Cooper.
It's Cooper Jr. then or something. I don't know, but one of them has a kid who's 16 right now. It's not
Okay.
Peyton, Cooper's kid's like 16.
Oh.
If he had turned 18 and declared to go to the XFL instead of the
see, you got something.
then you got something. But the XFL couldn't hold on long enough to get a Manning.
But it's still for sale, right?
It is for sale. If you can get that and a Manning, if you can get that and you can have a Manning signed on,
all you need.
I'm in. As soon as I get out of high school.
Keep Oliver Luck.
Right.
Because he's a smart guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think you could and I don't know if it's ultimately what doomed the XFL, but having more than one iron on the fire, especially losing huge dollars, it's kind of what you're seeing happen with what's going on here with one of our casinos and pro sports team owners. I don't know that is the recipe to sustainability. So you probably had to cut your loss at some point if you want to keep this other thing over here working. He's got the WWE, right? It's not so. He's got to keep that afloat. That's his baby. So that's what he had to sacrifice it. And that makes business sense. But if you could, to your point, keep those people and move out, you got to have sole focus. You got to have somebody who really is, that's all they want to do. And you can't compete with the NFL.
The Manning kid, and then I don't know if Jerry Rice's son is already in college or had an opportunity, but I know Montana's kid
he went to De La Salle, the Concord
you go
powerhouse.
Find some great kids and hey, look, sign with the XFL, and you get 3 or 4 in a row or 3 or 1
Todd
year.
Marinovich's kid.
You get Barry Sanders' son.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning's son and Barry Sanders' son.
Yeah.
I mean, then you can sell it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to take because now the NFL is the only professional sports organization that doesn't have a breeding ground, doesn't have an underling, minor leagues to help grow its brand. And it's probably, in all honesty, the sport that needs it the most. It's the one with the highest turnover rate. It's the one that sees athletes have the shortest lifespan of any of the other sports. I mean, everybody now has a minor leagues except for the NFL. So if they could figure out, and again, I think that's exactly right. You have to attach the right people. You have to attach the big brains. And then on top of that, you have to attach some celebrity status, whether it's the Manning angle is a very, very valid, solid way of looking at it.
I go back to the not the XFL, the AFL and the NFL merger. And that primarily happened in a large part because Joe Namath chose the AFL over the NFL out of college. And that was huge because at that point the AFL was, it's kind of interesting. Okay, cool, kind of a league. But then when Joe Namath, Broadway Joe, decided to go to the AFL with the Jets instead of the NFL, that was huge. That was a huge coup for the.
It's like Dr. J and the ABA. It's the same kind of thing when the ABA created the hardship move, so these guys could come straight out of high school. That changed everything. That was the element that changed it. I mean, at the time you had to graduate. So there's plenty of instances, but for the whatever minor league system it is that's going to happen in the NFL, because I do believe it's going to happen, it's going to take those two things. One, a powerful structure, some smart leadership at the top, some powerful, and maybe not celebrity, but at least powerful enough tied to the sport names to help promote it. And then it's going to take a mentality that you're not trying to compete with them. That's where the USFL blew it. They tried to make it a competitive situation instead of trying to augment it and trying to find a way to feather into it. And the XFL was already showing some of its true colors and not allowing some of its players out of its contracts to go to NFL teams that wanted them. That was a mistake. All of that has to be fine-tuned and worked out. But this has got to happen. And as we talked about it being kind of like the sacrificial lamb of the coronavirus in the sports world, it's got to, since it's for sale, find an owner who's got a real bona fide vision for how to create a fair and equitable opportunity for these young kids who shouldn't be indentured servants and don't want a college education. They want to play football. They want to play pro football. That's all they want to do. They're there to play pro football. The ruse and serving under the guise of I'm here to get an – look, you can go back and get an education once you get your money. Everybody can afford it at that point. But to prohibit them from having an opportunity to earn when their earning opportunity and potential is at its highest, it's got to end. And it's ending across the board in every sport except for the NFL. The NFL has got to do better. Got to do better.
Just choked myself on my water.
Choking on the splinters.
Choked myself on my water. Oh, all right. Tailgate Kings coming at you. Good morning. We're talking about a little bit right now, like I said, about the NCAA, what's happening with the G League, what's happening with the idea of the NCAA countering with players' likenesses and whatnot.
They had to do it.
Like right? I said, of course, and I think it's a good first move. I wonder.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. I
mean, this goes back to the O'Bannon fight. You know, this isn't new. I mean, this is years old, and now that you're finally willing to throw that olive branch in the direction because now you're getting got, seems too little, too late to me. It just is. All rings hollow with the NCAA from start to finish. It always has. They are arbitrary in how they decide what they decide and what is even put on the table for them to decide. So the sooner they have less authority to make decisions about young men's lives, the better for me.
Jay, what do you think about the G League and what do you think about this proposal? Do you feel like the NCAA came up with this as a counter to the G Leagues? I mean, they were kind of already looking into this sort of thing, but I guess the timing of the announcement, though, just makes it feel like it's reactionary.
I think, sometimes people do the right thing for the wrong reason. I think that's what we have here. Like, I agree with Chad that the NCAA is too late in this, that they should have thought of this sooner. But I do think it's the right move. I actually do think it's enough. I don't think any player is going to make the same money in the G League as they can if they're playing well for Kentucky or a Duke or a Gonzaga or a Dayton or any of the 100 of colleges around the nation. They're going to inevitably make more money and get an education while being in the equivalent of the minor league for basketball. And I think the fact that the AFL was tried and the XFL was tried and people are going to keep trying these things, in the future, maybe the NCAA realized that, well, we need to get something ready for football too, because that's coming down the pike just like it happened with basketball, right? So for the wrong reasons, they did the right thing. And I think this is a good solution for them and for the kids. And it makes recruiting kind of easy too. It's like, look, we can get your son more money or daughter more money than he or she would get by going to a minor league, and they get an education in case they don't make it or they break an ankle, right? Right, and just aren't the same again after that. And I'm going to be honest. While I disagree with most NCAA decisions, I like this one, and I think people have to remember Title IX. The women's soccer team just won their lawsuit, right? Mm-hmm. That they deserve equal pay and they did not receive equal pay, right? Colleges have no choice. If they're going to pay football players or basketball players, they have to pay the women's team as much as the men's. And it's not going to break down in a way that works out revenue-wise for them. Whereas if they make it about the likeness, if they allow other people to pay them for their service as opposed to the college, then they don't have to pay their bowling team the same as they pay the star center on their basketball team. So I actually like this solution a lot. I'm sure they'll find a way to mess it up, but on the surface, it looks good.
Well, yeah, that and they let EA Sports basically pay their athletes then, because the likenesses will come from they're going to make NCAA football 2021 again for the first time in, I don't know, since so bad.
And then you don't have to pay the lacrosse team, which you can't afford to pay, right?
Right.
Or when you do pay the lacrosse team and the bowling team and the volleyball team and every track and field player and every table tennis player, the same amount as the football player, it doesn't really stop those G Leagues, those AFLs and XFLs from cropping up. But when you let EA Sports and Nike and Reebok and Under Armour get in there, now you've got something going really, really good for you and for those kids.
That's it right there. You said it, for the kids. As long as it creates more competitive opportunities for these kids to get compensated fairly as soon as they're able to be of earning age, I'm in. However you do it, and if it means that the NCAA sees a surge and becomes better, fantastic. As long as those corrupt fools can shrink their ego and, like you said, Jay, not ruin it.
Oh, they'll screw it up.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them to not ruin it. But this is a really good start, and I think the coronavirus woke them up. I think the revenue they lost and made the kind of the realization that that's inevitably what's coming if they don't find a way to get athletes paid or allow them to accept payment from others for their services.
Yeah, they were crapping their pants. They're like, oh, my God, did you see we didn't get an NCAA tournament? Do you see the $700 quadrillion
who knows how much
we
money
lost?
they lost? Yeah, like that's I think their biggest money making thing all year. It's bigger than
it has to be.
It's bigger than college football even. Like March Madness is huge.
Oh yeah.
So
just the Bud Light revenue.
I mean, it's 4 weeks of just constant whatever.
Bud Light.
Yeah. Jay, tell me this, man. What do you think about the G League signings? Do you think the G League will start to eat into NCAA basketball, or will we see like this as a null, when it comes down to it?
One of the few disadvantages basketball has over sports organization-wise is this situation where, like, the Basketball Hall of Fame takes people from college and high school and the Olympics, not just the NBA. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. And I think this is a classic NBA kind of structure where, like, and I think soon you'll be taking kids out of high school again, too. You'll have kids coming out of high school, kids coming out of college, kids coming out of the G League. We see a lot of people coming over from Italy. We see people coming over from Australia now. We see people going to Australia now, right? So I think it'll continue to be a sort of smorgasbord. It'll be a buffet. I don't think, and what Silver's doing right here is not being reliant on anyone's source. People tell you to diversify your stocks, right? They tell you to diversify your investments. The NBA is fine picking players from overseas and from the NCAA. They need to go back to being okay with getting them straight out of high school too. I think they'll reach that point. I think the NBA is handling this right. I think the NCAA is starting to handle it right too by saying, hey, we can get you paid more than those leagues. It's the smart thing to do. I think it adds up. I don't think the G League cuts into the NCAA, or if it does, it doesn't do it for very long. You need an interesting market for a G League team to be successful, and there's not the pool of talent in basketball like there is in baseball, right? There's minor league baseball teams all over the country, and they're huge sellers. Basketball hasn't been as successful in Canton, but it has been really successful in Austin. And Austin, Texas, a bigger city that just doesn't happen to have a team, it can really work there. But it's not as scalable as minor league baseball. Minor league basketball, not as scalable as minor league baseball. And that's kind of its issue, and it's because people don't want to go see mediocre players in a cavernous arena where it's dark and there's no light. They're happy to go see mediocre players on a beautiful day at a green sunny field with the skyline in the background, right? Right. So like there's different advantages to those sports. So I don't see it cutting into the NCAA for very long. The NCAA is taking steps to regain their stranglehold on amateur basketball, and they have the brand recognition. People want to root for LSU. They don't want to root for the Lake Charles Chargers. Right.
No, that's one thing I was saying to Chad. It's like the problem is you've got to face that tradition, or those lifelong fans. How are you going to get them to not go to UCLA or no longer be Duke, North Carolina?
You have to create
fans?
the infrastructure. Like you're saying, I mean, in Austin, in Round Rock, you go see the I can't remember the name of the AAA Astros there, but that's their baseball team.
Baseball. Okay, I was waiting for the basketball team.
That's a beautiful yard. I mean, it is a fantastically cool yard fashioned after old Jacobs Field. It feels very similar. It's awesome. It's a great place to see a game. If you could do some of the same things and create the team allegiance and keep the geographical tie to it like they have in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is a cool enough area, different, unique enough.
Santa Cruz, an outdoor league, I could see that. If you take minor league basketball outdoor, it has a much better chance.
There's all the ways that you could take it. I mean, I think that Silver, the advantage the NBA has is that Silver is so smart, and he's going to kick every tire to find a solution. I don't know that Goodell is aware enough of what's happening around him, or maybe I'm wrong. He seems a smart guy. It just seems like he's not proactive enough in creating solutions that are close to getting away from him.
He is the highest paid rodeo clown in America.
That's it. That's perfectly said.
And that's exactly what the owners want. They want somebody to distract the bull that is the fans, right? They want a distraction. And Goodell plays a clown really well, but we've seen him make really, really smart decisions just in the last month. Keeping the draft going, keeping everything he can do on schedule, taking a pay cut and keeping it under the table. Not like that memo didn't leak until like 2 days ago. And when it leaked to NPR first, right? It didn't leak to like ESPN, which is weird, right? Right? Like he's being very smart and very strategic about handling this. I think what we see in Goodell right now is how smart of a leader he actually is and how, his stupidity, his mistakes are a bit of an act that kind of distract us from all the money that teams are making. Like they are making so much money and not paying taxes, and he's just a rodeo clown to keep us fans mad about something besides how they're not paying the tab they should be paying.
And am I alone in this? This was the one thing to that very solid point you just made, Jay. He, over the course of this draft, the format made him way more likable. He seemed like
100% approachable. He's like your cool uncle you haven't seen in a few years.
Yeah. I was like, who is this guy? This isn't the same guy.
He's got some M&Ms on the table. He's got a leather chair, a little glass of scotch. Like,
yeah.
Hey, pour me a drink, Roger.
I was like, dang, Rog, you all right?
And not only that, but, he embraced the booing. That just shows you he knows what he's doing. He had a whole charity going for Boo the Commish. And he was getting all those guys, every time they had a pick, he'd like bring them on, like trying to get them to boo him. Like, I miss the boos. I need the boos. He's used to being hated. I wonder. Yeah,
you might be right.
I mean, I wonder if he's got like some like alternate costume he wears when he goes out so he doesn't look like Roger Goodell so he can have a normal life. Because that's got to be awful, though, to be hated that much. Is he
tall? He looks like he's tall.
He's probably tall.
He looks 6'4".
Yeah, he's a pretty big dude. I mean, I would guess him in the 6'3", 6'4" range just because I've seen him stand next to players and not be that much shorter than him.
Yeah, and he looks pretty stout, like he's in the gym. He looks like he's a kind of a big dude. Yeah, it'd be hard to hide who you are. And he kind of looks line albino. You kind of have to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering.
You'd have to dress up if you wanted to have a normal life.
What if that's all Roger Goodell? Like, what if really he's 5'4", like some like accountant looking guy, got glasses and
he's an alien.
Yeah.
Well, you know that UFOs have been confirmed now.
Yes, not aliens, but yes, UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Yes,
that does help explain Silver.
He reminds me of that TV show V from when we were kids.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
That was where like they peel off their skin and they're aliens. I keep waiting for Silver to do that. It's gonna happen one day.
I hear you. He's got a real long tail.
Yeah, let's give Goodell credit. I think like he has been the class clown forever. He's paid well for it. But when tragedy struck, he's handled this pretty much perfectly, which shows that some of the mistakes he makes are probably intentional.
I won't argue.
And some of the mistakes he makes were dealing with cases and situations that, you don't see commissioners in other leagues having to deal with, like Ray Rice and whatnot. It's like, you're not seeing that in other leagues. So even missteps or whatever, uncertainties when he went back and didn't suspend Ray Rice and then suspended him or something like that.
Yeah,
even those weird missteps, it's like that's uncharted territory in a lot of ways. I mean, stuff that nobody should have to deal with, let alone on a public level, like for the world to watch or whatever, or at least the United States to watch and nothing else.
I don't know.
So I don't know. I like Goodell. I don't know what you're supposed to feel about a commissioner. How are you supposed to feel about a commissioner?
Yeah, if David Silver, it's not David Silver. That's Peach Pit. What's his name? What's Silver's first name?
Adam Silver.
Adam. David Silver's 90210.
Oh, okay. All right.
Adam Silver. I want to root for him. I do want to root for him, but I am afraid he might peel his skin off and be an alien. First time I saw him, I was like, oh my God, they're going to let that guy have the job? Just on how he looks alone would be hard enough. Took me a while to get used to that, but I don't know how you're supposed to feel about a commissioner either. I mean, it doesn't appear to me that Manfred's got his stuff together with Major League Baseball. I don't know, but if I'm going to like one guy, I'm going to be drawn to Silver.
I mean, I get you because he feels like the most proactive, but I mean, Goodell's done a lot for football. Think about it. I mean, he keeps trying to get these games in other countries. It's not as easy to do as basketball and whatnot. To move a whole football team or two football teams over to London.
The whole Clippers thing with Sterling, that was well handled. you know, in my opinion,
Right.
forcing bigotry out of the league and not tolerating that kind of thing, and allowing for these organizations to have their own views on social topics and be able to express those things without the players getting fined or slapped or smacked. Or, you know, I respect that about what the NBA does and what Silver allows for them to do for what they believe in.
Do you think Silver is a different kind of commissioner then in that sense? Like, does he have more power than Goodell, or is he just as much a puppet as we assume Goodell
No, I think
is?
he probably has more power
right?
than Goodell.
Because it feels like that, right? Whereas Goodell is like the shield, if he's the shield to block the owners.
That's why he gets the dough.
Silver feels like more like he's a leader for the owners in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Matt. He's the brains of the operation there, whereas Goodell is kind of like the shield. He shields what's going on and how they're running the free market and avoiding taxes. It's pretty smart.
Yeah, you know, especially when you're getting what is his salary? $40 million a year?
I don't know.
Something
Technically, it's
insane.
in the 20s, but he always gets the bonuses that do take it up into 30. I mean, his top, if he met all bonuses this year, he hit 40. So that's
Yeah, there you
pretty
go.
easy money.
Did he
That's
make
pretty decent.
Did he make $1 for a little while there? Did he take? I love it when he takes his salary down to like nothing, just showing you like how much money doesn't matter because he's so rich. Like, because now he's like, what? Now he's not getting paid at all, Jay, you said? Is he not taking anything now?
Yeah, his salary's been decreased to zero for the duration of the coronavirus thing.
I swear, I don't remember if it was like during like a negotiation or something 5 years ago. He decided he was going to take $1 until everything was settled or something like that. And he got like $1 a month or something like that. And
it's a good trick.
It's smart. It's very smart.
I wish
Makes you look very good.
Right, I wish I was so rich. I'm not going to pay myself for a while now.
I can go 3 years without him.
Yeah, there's a reason presidents almost never take their pay, right? Because they don't need it.
Right.
You know?